guys, BrownBerry here. Welcome to the BrownBerry Chronicles. I'm Mars, known around the internet as Hey BrownBerry, and I'd like to welcome you to this podcast. This is a video podcast about making, all kinds of making. A lot of knitting happens here, but we also talk about other crafts, sewing, painting, crochet makes an appearance every now and then, and I love sharing that with our crafty community, so thank you for being here to share that with me. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for continuing to keep up with this podcast. And if you're a new viewer, welcome, welcome, welcome to the BrownBerry Chronicles. I hope you'll enjoy what you see here. I'm going to dive right in today because I'm sitting here in what I lovingly call my nest. It's really just our guest room. And it's really overcast outside. The light is fading, and I have things I want to show you guys, and it's really important to me that you're able to see them well, so I gotta get moving on this episode. Today is Wednesday. Meezy's down there, so if you see me looking, that's who I'm looking at.
Hi, guys.
So today is Wednesday, August 31st, the end of August, which for me kind of feels like the end of summer, even though I know that's not officially when summer ends. And if you're like me, you may have had a lot of summer activities that you're already starting to miss, and you're probably moving into what is a really busy time of year for most people. So we have done that this year. We've had quite a bit of summer activity, and now we're moving back into homeschool routines and work routines. So it feels like the end of one phase and the beginning of another. Today also marks the end of the Summer School Make-Along, which is a make-along that started in July through this podcast. And we invited folks to try a new technique or a new method in the things that they're making. And we called it Summer School because learning while you're creating is just a great combination. Lots of people participated. I am so thrilled with the beautiful projects and the aha moments that people have had in the Summer School Make-Along. If you search the hashtag Summer School Make-Along on Instagram, you'll see some really great projects out there. And of course, if you visit the BrownBerry Chronicles Ravelry group, you'll see some works in progress, a lot of encouraging chatter, and some beautiful finished objects. I encourage you to go check them out. Tonight at midnight Pacific time, we bring the Summer School Make-Along to a close. So it's a little sad to think we won't be working on that together, but the happy news is that means tomorrow we start drawing for prizes. Prizes that have been donated by wonderful makers from all over. And I can't wait to start pulling names and shipping out packages of prizes to people. I'm going to actually have enough prizes that I can draw for multiple winners from the finished object thread on Ravelry, and a couple, maybe 2 or 3 winners from the works in progress and chatter thread. So any of you who've participated have a good chance of winning something awesome. Speaking of the Summer School Make-Along, I have some prizes that arrived since my last episode was recorded that I definitely wanted to show you. I received a generous donation from a lovely woman by the name of Susan, and she has an apparel company called Junkie, and I'll share with you a little bit about something wonderful she sent us to try, a product that she makes, but she also donated prizes for the Summer School Make-Along. Gorgeous project bags, 3 of them. If you can see the beautiful fabric print here, you'll understand why I was so excited to receive these. Super roomy. And from the inside to the outside, the fabric choice is fantastic. It also has this amazing faux leather bottom, which makes it really sturdy. It'll stand up really well with your project in it. I cannot wait to find out who's going to win these. She sent different prints. This one, very beautifully summer themed, of course, with seashells and sea creatures. And 2 more. This one has sharks swimming around, which I think is super cute. And this one, it's got some jellyfish, an octopus. Oh, I just think they're such great choices for fabric prints. And these will be shipping out to some winners very, very soon. And speaking of Susan and her talent, she asked if I would like to try out some really cool headbands that she's made. They have a visor on them, and they're meant for folks who are working out, probably, outside, because they've got a great visor that allows you to get some shade over your eyes with a really comfy headband. And you know what? I'm not going to talk about it. I'll let my expert reviewers tell you all about this great product. So girls, you guys are trying on the Mild Junkie visor headbands for the first time.
First time.
Here's the logo. And I want to know, what's your review? What's your opinion?
I think they're great.
I think they're comfortable. I think it's an ingenious idea. So you can have a headband to hold your hair back, but also a visor because it's very sunny in Florida. And they're very comfortable. And you can see that if they fit over our hair, they'll fit over yours.
Yeah.
With an elastic band that's small enough to fit over a small head, too.
Yep. What do you think, Adachi?
I think they're very good. They're not too snug, and this provides just the right amount of shade, and they're pretty stylish. I like these patterns. They're cool.
And they're easy to get on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Guys, let's talk shawls. I'm going to insert here a photo of my most recent finished shawl. Which is the Asana shawl, and it's shawl number 3 in the Shawl Society. There are 6 patterns total. That makes us halfway through the Shawl Society knit along, which runs through November. The Asana shawl was designed by Helen Stewart, who is Hell's Bells on Ravelry, and she's also known around the internet as Curious Handmade. The Asana shawl was one of my favorites to finish. I enjoyed working with the yarn so much. I loved the finished product. I made a couple of modifications. As you can see in the pictures, the original pattern had a garter band to begin the shawl. I decided to do stockinette. I'd done a few shawls that had some garter stitch in them, and for whatever reason, I just felt like the stockinette stitch at the top of the shawl would flow a little bit better into the leaf detail that you saw in the photo. And I was really happy with the outcome. I'm a fan of the yarn that I used, which is Barocco Fiora, and I will use it again. In fact, shawl number 4 is soon to be released at the time that I'm recording this, and it calls for 3 different colors of yarn. Here are my current choices. Now, I have not yet seen the pattern, but I'm in love with these 3 colors. You'll recognize this middle one. That's the Barocco Fiora that I used in the Asana shawl. And the colorway, let's see, this is the label. And the color comes in numbers. It's 3835. If you friend me on Ravelry, where I am BrownBerry, you can obviously see a lot of the details about the yarn and the project. But I was such a fan of the way this knits up. I went searching in the stash for other things that would coordinate with it. What do you think? Not a bad combination. The other yarns I'm considering using are another color of Fiora. Oops. And this one is color 3812. It's a silvery, very pretty light grayish color with a bit of sheen. This yarn is 40% cotton, 30% rayon, 15% alpaca, 10% nylon, and 5% wool. I was concerned about there not being very much animal fibers in here in terms of how it would block, because plant fibers, you can do some blocking with them and it usually works out well initially, but I actually found that when I blocked my Asana, it came out very not too structured. It stayed really soft, but the detail was there. It remained after the shawl dried. I was really happy about that. And the third color in the trio is a yarn that's new to me. This is Barocco Cosma. This was a gift from Elizabeth, who is head squammy. She runs the Squam Art Workshops, and I attended the Spring Squam Retreat this year up in New Hampshire. And she gave me this lovely, lovely yarn gifty as a thank you for a knit-along that I ran for Squam. So I was really happy to find that from a color perspective, these three go great together. They're a little different in gauge in that the Cosma is a finer gauge than the Fiora, but I think that in a shawl, I may be able to keep the same needle size for both, or I may have to switch a needle size when it's time to incorporate one or the other. I don't mind either way. I'll figure it out when I get there. Shawl 4 is released. I'll know if these are the three colors I want to stick with based on the design. That's the cool part about this Shawl Society. You find out a little bit of detail, enough to start making some yarn choices, and then once you see the full pattern, sometimes you end up making a different choice. So I'll keep you posted by way of the interwebs how that works out. Another shawl that I recently finished is one that has been on the needles for months. I started it in April of this year and didn't finish it until almost the end of August. That's the 3-color cashmere shawl by Joji Locatelli. My version did not have any cashmere in it, but I'm really happy with how it came out. I had actually tested out the 3 colors I wanted to use by way of a drawing, which I posted on Instagram back in the spring, and I'm really happy with the result of using those 3 colors in the actual shawl. I'll post some pictures here so you can see the comparison between my vision and the actual result. When I did the original drawing, I overestimated the amount of the blue yarn, which is Luette Gems, that I had available. So in the actual knitting of the shawl, I had to rethink the colors and combinations and layout, and ended up using a lot more of the pink yarn, which is Tess Designer Yarns Super Sock and Baby. And the black yarn is wool yarn that I have in a cone from an unknown manufacturer. I've got that yarn in a swap, but I'm really happy with the way it came out. I have to admit, it was quite a push at the end to finish this shawl. It just languished for a long time. I didn't touch it. It had only the lace and the picot edge left at one point, and I couldn't really travel with it. When knitting lace, I needed to be able to focus and concentrate, and that kind of kept me from taking it around to places where I normally would have a little time to knit. And then it started to feel really daunting because it was over 400 stitches for the lace. And then when I actually did pick it up and start again, it took me 4 separate tries to successfully get through the first few lace rows. Not because they're difficult. You know how you just have that block sometimes with a part of a pattern and you feel crazy because you're like, this should not be this hard. But for whatever reason, I had to rip out the lace section here in pink 4 times and start over. Very discouraging. Finally got through it and was really happy with the way it turned out. The picot edging, I jokingly called it Pico Purgatory to my friend Shelly because it takes a long time. Picot edging is beautiful. I never regret doing it, but it takes some time. So I was sort of over knitting this shawl before it was done. Of course, blocking changes everything. So once it was blocked and then off the blocking board and hung up on my wall, I fell in love with it all over again. And I'm going to be gifting it to someone very special to me during this holiday season. So I'm really happy with the outcome. Autumn is almost here, and that has me thinking about garment knitting, warmer colors, fall-themed colors, and of course, our Transitions make-along. Have you heard? I am co-hosting the Transitions Make-Along with Chanel of the Piper Nell podcast. The Make-Along starts in just a few days on September 2nd, and gotten a good amount of buzz started already by way of Instagram. Both Chanel and I have threads started in our Ravelry groups for the Transitions Make-Along so that you can join us. Just like the Summer School Make-Along, we encourage all crafts, and we have 2 prompts that we think are pretty broad that will allow people to choose tons of different types of projects. The Transitions Make-Along is for projects that either include leaves in some way, in the pattern, in the print, in the design, or gradient yarn colorways. So because that seems to be a really popular thing lately, I think you'll find lots of options for what you can make to be part of the Transitions Make-Along. And if you're not sure, Chanel has created an inspiration bundle for you. If you go to the BrownBerry Chronicles Ravelry group or the Piper Podcast Ravelry group, you'll find a link to a bundle with projects from all different kinds of categories and yarns that fall into the gradient category. So from there, you'll get great ideas of things you might want to make. As I've been thinking about things I'd like to make during the Transitions Make-Along, or actually during the fall, winter season, I'm turning to yarns in some, some more subtle colors and really kind of autumn-themed colors as well. Let's start with this. This is a wonderful gift from my friend Shelly, who is Ciao Lunabella, and that color is pretty accurate. This is a happy, fuzzy yarn. I love the tagline. It says, "Does yarn make you happy?" Yeah, it does. HappyFuzzyYarn.com is where you can get beautiful skeins like this one. I mean, so many of my favorites in here, from pink to red to russet to a dark brown. Deliciousness. So Shelly gifted this to me because she says she was in the store and saw it and it just called out to her for me. The colorway is Emma, and it's a hand-dyed fingering weight yarn, 75% wool, 25% nylon, of course machine washable. I love this yarn. Better still, I went to the stash to put it away and my daughter said, "Mommy, you have a brown yarn that would go great with that." And she was right. I put these 2 together and I thought, oh, there is a project that would just showcase these so beautifully. So I don't know yet what that project is, but this second yarn is a Malabrigo. This is Malabrigo kettle-dyed superwash merino wool. It's Malabrigo sock weight. Yep, Malabrigo sock. So 440 yards of a gorgeous reddish brown, almost like a wine and dark chocolate color. Love it. And I think the 2 together will really complement each other. So I hope to find a project this season that will showcase those 2 beautifully. I also jumped on the Sweet Fiber train. Do you guys know about Sweet Fiber? Sweet Fiber is from what I can tell, is a pretty popular dyer who's based in Canada, and her yarns are incredible. Here's a couple samples of a few that I've recently purchased. When I bought these, they were my first exposure to Sweet Fiber, and at the time I was craving some more subtle colors. You can see here by my choices. I went with grays and kind of a really neutral beige. So, nothing bright and crazy, nothing speckled. I was just so impressed with the richness of color in her yarns. And I haven't knit very much. I don't know if I've knit at all with fingering weight single ply yarns. I'm really, really excited to try her yarns in particular and to try this type of yarn. I'll show a picture and maybe just give you a little detail about the names, the colorway names of each one. Here are the colors that I chose for my first order from Sweet Fiber. This color is called Driftwood. And here is Sketchbook. This colorway is Winter. and this one is called Smoke. My plan for working with these is to make the breathing space sweater. I'm thinking of using 2 or 3 colors. The Breathing Space Pullover by Vera Valimaki is a sweater that really caught my eye when looking through a series of her patterns and Joji Locatelli's patterns. And in the sample sweater in the pattern, she uses what looks to be a mostly solid color and then a speckled color, which is striped with another solid. So I haven't quite decided exactly what combination I'll use and which yarns will go in which part of the sweater, but I just love how they look together in different combinations, and I'm going to do some swatching. I'm hoping to get going on this soon because I want to knit along with Rachel from On the Round. If you haven't found On the Round yarns yet, look for them on Instagram, on Ravelry. On the Round is another amazing yarn dyer from the Northeast US, and she has started swatching with some of her yarns for the Breathing Space sweater, so maybe I can catch up to her if I get going. And one last thing that has me thinking about fall and winter making is some beautiful fabric that I just received in the mail. Ooh, I don't know if you guys can hear that thunder. I'm going to lose the light here soon coming through my window, so be wrapping up here shortly. But I found this fabric provider by way of Instagram called Urban Stacks. So Urban Stacks, the postcard says it's the modern African fabric store and haberdashery. I love that word, haberdashery. They are on Instagram as Urban Stacks, and they have a store at urbanstacks.etsy.com, which is where I ordered from, and they also blog at urbanstacks.com. So I found them because of an Instagram photo that I saw in my list of recommended things that you may like, which I thought was pretty cool, and decided that I had to have this. This is my colors. It's an interesting print, just beautiful combination of colors and print. The fabric feels really nice. I only ordered 1 yard of it for now because I wanted to try it out and see what their shipping was like and the quality. I have nothing but good things to say about the timing that it took to get here all the way from the UK. I love it. So this fabric is Ankara fabric in the orange and brown. It's a wax print, and it's 100% cotton. So its colorway, I think, is African seamstress. I think that's what this is meant to indicate, that that's the colorway. Not positive what I'm going to make yet. Project bag comes to mind, but those are starting to stack up over here. So I might actually make a top. In my fantasy sewing life, I will make a top that has a really interesting, maybe circular neckline, and something flowy and sleeveless. Oh, can't you just see it? I don't really know how to sew that well yet, so that would be a major accomplishment to make a wearable garment. But anything is possible if I'm willing to put some elbow grease and effort into it, right? So we'll see what this will become. If 1 yard is enough, I will make some kind of small garment. If nothing else, I will make myself and maybe someone else a beautiful project bag. So we'll see. Any one of you who sews, if you have ideas for me, please let me hear them. And one final fall winter inspiration that's recently arrived in my mailbox was my order from the lovely, lovely Paula Holmes, who's the dyer at Bayview Fiber Arts. I got a lot of acquisitions recently because I had put myself on a 1-month no buying embargo. I actually wrote a contract with myself that said, from this day until 30 days from now, I will not buy any craft related supplies, because I'm really trying to get into using what I have and making do and feeling grateful about what I have. And sometimes it's easy to lose focus on that and to just keep acquiring, and before you know it, you're almost overwhelmed by the amount of things that you have that are unused. And I tend to, in my past, I've done that. So I was trying to stem the tide of items coming in and also really start finishing a lot of things. So I focused on my works in progress so that the yarn that I love so much could become something. So when that 30 days was up, I did order some goodies and treats, and among those were Paula's beautiful yarn. This colorway is called Before the Leaves Fall. And as I said, her company is called Bayview Fiber Arts. Bayview Fiber Arts, the dyer, Paula Holmes, the sweetest, just the nicest person. We chatted a little bit on Instagram, and I'm already a fan of hers. Her colors have the best names. You guys should check her out. She is on Instagram as Bayview Fiber Arts, and she has a website, bayviewfiberarts.com, and she also has an Etsy shop, so under the same name. So I encourage you to go check out some of her colors. As I said, this just totally inspired me to make something beautiful. I'm considering the Spindrift shawl. I've seen a few examples of Helen Stewart's Spindrift shawl, and I think that a yarn that has this much color and dimension should just be allowed to play out in some kind of palette that allows it all to be showcased. And I think the Spindrift may be a good way to do that. So I'm going to keep considering that because I just can't wait to work with this. This particular yarn is her fingering weight, 100% superwash British Blueface Leicester, and BFL is something I have not knit with before. So that was the first thing I was looking for, is to try a new type of yarn. And now I also get to experience yarn from a new hand dyer, so I'm always excited about that. Thank you, Paula. This is amazing. So I encourage you guys to do the same thing. Transition into the next season of making. Tell me what you're going to be working on in the fall and winter. I know for my friends in Australia, it's the opposite for us. So you're going into a warmer time now, and I'm sure that influences your project choices as well. I'm just interested to hear what everyone else is up to. Thank you, as always, for joining me. I hope that you've had a nice little break sharing what I'm surrounded by in the nest, and that you've had a wonderful summer. I look forward to catching up with you again. You can find me online as Hey BrownBerry on Instagram, Periscope, and Twitter, and I'm on Ravelry as BrownBerry, and our Ravelry group is the BrownBerry Chronicles podcast Ravelry group. I would love to hear from you. Connect with me anytime, and subscribe if you'd like to get notifications about new episodes. Have a great week. Happy making. Bye.